Hello everybody, it's a beautiful day today. We just thought we would go out for a walk and some of you might like to share it with us. We're just about to leave our drive. Lovely signs of spring. There's the forsythia. Over here is the Paris with its lovely red bracts and lovely cream flowers. We've just walked a few yards down the road and here is a lovely magnolia just coming out into flower in a neighbour's garden. We've walked along Brockham Road to the Downs School, which is the prep school for Malvern College, and here we are at the Downs Light Railway. And here you can see from the sign, this is the oldest private miniature railway I should say, in the world. Thought you'd like to see that. We've walked through the grounds of Downs School and we're now on the edge of a private garden, in fact, although this is a public footpath. And in the distance you can see the Malvern Hills bathed in wonderful sunshine, and over there there's a glorious huge magnolia that's just beginning to burst forth into flower. We're just approaching Walling Road, which is the main road through Colwall. Still got traffic on it. But we've just seen a patch of white violets, rather splendid. Also on the other side of the road you'll see one of the lodges that are quite a feature of the Colwall village-scape. There are a large number of them and they were all built by a certain Mr. Ballard, who was an experimental engineer, and believe it or not, these are some of the first buildings wholly made of concrete in the world. I mentioned a certain Mr. Ballard. This in fact was his house, and here's a plaque to commemorate him. Stephen Ballard, 1804 to 1890, engineer and entrepreneur. And on the other side of the road is another one of the lodges that he constructed, and we're just about to walk a little further up actually and to go down a drive towards another private house. But again, here we've come across some wonderful signs of spring, celandines and violets. Beautiful. We're now about half a mile from home, I think, and we are walking through one of the very old orchards that is around Colwall. We understand that these orchards were used for the production of cider, and many of the agricultural workers received part of their payment in cider, hence the orchards. And here we've got a lovely sign of spring. Here's one of the spring lambs. I'm just about to go up to it and say source. Close up of a spring lamb. We've now walked about another quarter of a mile and we are on the east side of the village. We're now going to be walking down this field towards the village, over to the left, which is now ploughed fields. That was once the site of the Colwall horse racing course, which was quite famous, we understand, and was in its heyday in the 1920s and early 30s, and probably the Second World War put a stop to the fun. We've now walked into the village nature reserve. There's a pond. We've just been looking at minnows in the stream just over there. Just walking by the side of the pond, and there, look, is a lovely clump of frog spawn. Another sign that spring is on the way. I mentioned earlier the race course. Well, this is in fact what used to be the race course. Wouldn't be very good at the moment for racing horses, since the farmer has recently ploughed it. In fact, if you can see in the far distance, there's the tractor doing some more work. And in the very far distance there, see if I can zoom in a little. There it is. There's British Camp. We are also standing beside the railway line, and we're in fact just about to pass under the railway line. This is the main line from Hereford to Malvern, Worcester, and indeed all the way to London. And we are going to cross the village and come out on the west side. We are now just south of the centre of the village. Some rather nice Edwardian houses on the other side of the roads, and we're actually standing in the grounds of the local library. And here is the clock, affectionately known as Aunt Alice, built in 1931 to commemorate the wife of a local builder. We're now on the west side of the village, and here is a bit of the village's industrial heritage. On the other side of the village, that's on the east side, there was a vinegar factory, cider vinegar we understand, and then a light railway brought the pulp from the cider vinegar down to this building here, where the pulp from the cider making progress was fed to pigs. And here, of course, we have a classic example of the way in which farmers are the custodians of the countryside. They delight in littering it with old coils of pig netting and corrugated sheeting that resulted from the burning down of a rather dilapidated barn. Farmers, the custodians of the countryside. Here we've got a fine example of the ancient craft of tying hurdles with binder twine. I have a theory that most farms, if you removed all the binder twine, they would totally collapse. Whatever would we do without binder twine? We're now, having walked about a quarter of a mile from the last comment, we are now in another one of Colwall's ancient orchards. And this one in particular is absolutely festooned with mistletoe. We always thought that mistletoe favoured apple trees, but that clearly is not the case, because if you look over there in the distance, I'm not sure what kind of tree it is, but it's certainly not an apple tree, but you can see the huge clumps of mistletoe right in the top of the tree. Amazing. Some of the trees in this orchard are really ancient, and in fact some of them are unique to this part of Herefordshire, and these trees have been subject to research, and here's one of the identification tabs that's been put on the tree, and this one, as you can see, is pretty laid flat, but for all that there are signs of life here, look, in the buds, and we have seen them fruit actually quite well. Here we've got a replanting. The Colwall Daughter group are busy putting some new trees in this particular old orchard, and this one, the label tells me, is a Newton wood. You can see the robin, but I hope you can hear him. Well, I'm assuming it's a him. Trouble is with robins, you can't tell the difference. And so our walk is coming to an end. We've done a complete circuit of the village. We're now back in Brockhill Road, and I think perhaps now is the time for a good cup of tea.